So now we're dealing with a motor scooter that's traveling east at a speed of 12 meters per second. The driver then reverses direction instantaneously. We're not going to measure worry about the time it takes to turn around, and head west at 15 meters per second. The question is what is the change in the velocity of the scooter, give its magnitude and its direction. So the scooter is traveling east. Well, there's no good. Traveling east, okay, at a velocity of 12 meters per second. Okay, it then stops and turns around and travels back at 15 meters per second. Okay, and it's asking for the change in velocity. The first thing we do when dealing with vectors is remember that vectors have a direction, and the direction does matter. So when we talk about velocity, and I'm going to say velocity 1, or velocity initial, is going to be 12 meters per second, I have to remember, is it positive or negative? Do I want to make this direction a positive direction, or this direction a positive direction? And using from what I've done with other problems, I'm saying east is positive, so it's traveling at a positive 12 meters per second. Now velocity 2 is traveling at 15 meters per second, but in the opposite direction. So we're going to make that negative. Okay? So we're solving for the change thing, just determine what my variables are. Now I've got to describe what change in velocity means. Mathematically, a change in velocity is saying if I take my final term, in this case v2, and I subtract my initial term, in this case v1, I get my change in my velocity. Okay? But if you think of it more as position instead of velocity, if I travel 12 meters this way and I travel 15 meters this way, what is the change in my position? I can see that 15 and 12 is going to give me how much that position changed. Okay? Cool? Now, let's look at it. V2 is going to be negative 15 meters per second, and V1 is going to be positive 12 meters per second. Now, there's a negative sign here because there's a negative sign here, okay, which is going to make this term negative. I just wanted to express them the way that I've recorded them over here, okay? So that means that negative 15 meters per second minus 12 meters per second is equal to my change in my velocity. Put my delta out there, okay? So 15 and 12 is going to give me 27, and they're going to be negative. Okay? That represents the change in my velocity, negative 27 meters per second. Well, think about it this way. It's going 12 here. In the process, it has to stop and turn around. So it's going to take a great deal of effort to do that. If instead I went 12 and then went down to, let's say, 10 in the same direction, my change in that case would be 2. It's not that impressive. Okay? Not a big change. But this whole turning around and going in the opposite direction is going to produce a great deal of change. Okay? Cool?